Everybody, this is the solve multiplication and division equations homework. All right, so number one says Carlos bought 5 tickets to a play for a total of $200. Then it gave us this equation, 5c equals 200, and we're going to use this to find the cost, which is c, in dollars of each ticket. So to solve this equation, again, same first step, equal sign, let's draw a line. This way we know terms on the left side, such as 5c, and terms on the right side, which are 200. So what we want to do next, it says 5c. So that means multiplication, 5 times c. So remember, with an equation, whatever operation we see, do the opposite side. One of the variables multiply. Whatever I do on one side, in this case I divide by 5, I have to do the same exact thing on the other side. 5s, I know 5 divided by itself is 1. We could just cancel them. We don't have to put 1. Let's bring down our variable c. And 200 divided by our answer for that. C equals $40. Okay, heading into number 2. It says Emma buys 1.8 pounds of walnuts for a total of 5. Equals 5. And same steps, equal sign, draw the line. Again, that's to separate terms on the left side, such as 1.8p, from the term on the right, which is 5.04. Next, what operation do we see? Well, we see multiplication once again, since it says 1.8p, or 1.8 times p. So since I'm looking at multiplication, I do the inverse, or opposite, which means I divide by the coefficient of 1.8. And whatever I do on one side, I am to the other side, divide that also by 1.8. Now my 1.8s will cancel. Let's bring down our variable p, bring down equals. And if we divide this, whether we do long division or calculator, we're going to get an answer of $2.80, which is choice B. All right, 2 down. Number 3. So Gabriel wants to solve the equation 5 over 8n equals 25. Question says, what step should he do to get the variable n by itself on one side of the equation? All right, so this one, got to be careful. Remember, it's math. There's more than one way. How I would do it, since I really want to get rid of the fraction, is I would multiply by the reciprocal. So instead of 5 over 8, reciprocal just means flip it upside down. Multiply both sides by 8 over 5. However, if you look at your choices in number 3, it doesn't give us that option. So choice A says multiply both sides by 25. Well, it's not really going to get rid of my coefficient here, the 5 over 8. So that can't be a step. Same reason, choice C says to divide both sides by 25. Again, that's not going to get rid of my 5 over 8, so I can't do that either. All right, so it's not A, it's not C. So choice B, multiply both sides. Okay, we might be onto something, but this says by 5 over 8. So if I multiply 5 over 8 times 5 over 8, I'm going to get 25 over 64n. Right. So as you see, that really doesn't help us out. We still have the fraction in front of the variable n. So I can't do that. Only reasonable step here is actually sides by 5 over 8. Now, say that, but remember, math has multiple steps, right? So I can do something different and still pretty much get the same exact answer. So in this case, if I simply just divide, I'll erase this part, but you're going to see I'm going to end up doing the same exact thing. So if I go back to what we learned before, when we have a fraction, and if we divide it by another fraction, so in this case it would say 5 over 8, but when I'm dividing fractions, remember this. Keep mean again. I know it's been a while, but keep. So we're going to keep the equation and flip 8 into 8 over 5. And as you see right here, by dividing the 5 over 8 by 5 over 8, what we're actually doing is reciprocal anyway. So it's by 8 over. Not here in this example. We're dividing 5 over 8 to the same thing. So our choice here is D. By 5 over 8. Again, it helps to know more than one way on how to solve a problem. All right, so that was number 3. Now let's go into number 4. So 4, it says Deshaun has 3/4 of a box of rice to cook dinner. The portion he uses weighs 12 ounces. So we have to write and solve an equation to find the weight. Give says Deshaun uses 3/4 of a box of rice. Okay, let's write 3/4 of a box of rice, but it doesn't tell us how much was in the box, how much rice is in the box. So if I don't know, I need to put a variable, put any letter. For now, I'll just put X. Then it says the portion he uses weighs 12 ounces. So that's not the total, but I do know the part that he used was equal to 12 ounces. So this is the equation I would set up. 3 over 4 x, or whatever variable you want, equals 12. Now all we have to do is solve this. Again, we can use it, the KCF method of dividing 3/4 by 3/4. But as we saw over here, it's really just going to turn into multiplying by the reciprocal anyway. So what I'll simply do is just to multiply by the reciprocal. So instead of 3 over 4, I multiply by the reciprocal. So I flip that upside down. So 4 over 3. Whatever I do on one side, I do to the other side. By the way, equal sign, draw the line. And if you're looking at the 12, that's a whole number. What I want to do is also make that a fraction. Remember, we've covered this before. Just put it over 1. The reason for that is because 12 divided by 1 is still 12. So once you put it over 1, it does not change the value of that number. Okay. So again, why do we want to I'm going to show you the long way first about why we do it, and then I'm just going to go back and just cancel it. So long way, 4 times 3 is 12. On the bottom, 3 times 4 is 12. And 12 divided by 12 is 1. So again, that's why we do this step here of multiplying by the reciprocal. But we don't actually have to show that because, again, we should have kind of understood that before about why we multiply by the reciprocal. So we don't have to show that. All we simply have to do is just we can cross cancel. So 4 divided by itself is still 1 and 1. And 3 divided by itself is still 1 and 1. And as you see, we still get 1. I prefer the canceling method instead of just multiplying, because multiplying we know it's going to give us 1 anyway. So just save a little bit of time. So the left side, I have 1, so I can just bring down my x. Remember, I don't need to put 1 because there's already an invisible 1 in front of the x, since there's 1x. Bring down our equal sign, and now we multiply the numerators. 12 times 4 is 48. Multiply denominators. 1 times 3 is 3. And 48 divided by 3 is going to give us 16. So that means there were 16 ounces total in the rice box of rice. All right, that was number 4. Now number 5, getting back into multiplication. So it says 4 times y. Again, first step, equal sign. Let's draw a line. We see it's 4 times y, or 4y. So we're looking at multiplication. So we must do the inverse operation and divide. What are we dividing by? Well, we want y by itself, but the 4 is in front. So we divide by 4, which is our coefficient. Whatever we do on one side of the equation, we must do the same to the other. Divide that by 4. On the left side, we know 4 divided by itself is 1. They cancel. Bring down our y. Bring down equals. 9 divided by 4 gives us 2.25. So answer for number 5 is y equals 2.25. Okay, number 6. Another multiplication problem. Says 24 equals 3c. So equal sign, draw my line. Same first step. I know I'm looking at multiplication since it says 3c, or 3 times c. And since I'm looking at multiplication, I have to do the inverse, or opposite operation, and divide by 3. And this way I get my letter c by itself. And whatever I do on one side of the equation, I balance it by doing the same to the other. Divide that by c. Now on the left side, it says 24 divided by 3. So that's going to give me 8. Let's bring down our equal sign. 3 divided by itself is 1. We can just cancel that. Bring down our variable c. And answer is 8 equals c. Okay, 2 more to go. Number 7. 7 says z over 16 equals 8. Okay, so what am I looking at here? I see a division problem, since it says z divided by 16, or z over 16. So since I'm looking at division, well, first step, equal sign, let's draw a line. But I'm looking at division, so I must get rid of it by doing the inverse operation. In this case, I need to multiply. Now we know we have to multiply, but it just says z over 16. Remember, when a variable is by itself, it has a coefficient or a number in front. That's an invisible number 1. So it's really 1 over 16 that we're looking at for the fraction. Now we've done a few fractions here already. So again, we can get rid of a fraction by multiplying by the reciprocal. So instead of 1 over 16, we simply multiply by 16 over 1. Again, I'm not going to show all the work for 16 times 1 and 1 times 16 on the bottom, but I'll just point up here. Just understand and recognize when you multiply by the reciprocal, it will get rid of your fraction and leave you with a number 1, which we don't have to put, by the way, since we already have a 1 in front of our variable. So simply save time and divide 16 by itself, which again we still get 1. And same thing over here, divide 1 by itself, which we still get 1. So again, we don't need any of those ones. Purpose was just to get z by itself. So bring it down. Z equals. And remember, whatever we do on one side, we do to the other side. So if we multiply the left by 16 over 1, we also multiply the right by 16 over 1. Remember, as we did up here, when we have a whole number like 12, we make it a fraction also. Just put it over 1. So in this case, we have the whole number 8. Make that a fraction, put it over 1. And now we just multiply our numerators. 8 times 16 is going to give us 128. Multiply denominators. 1 times 1 is 1. And we know 128 divided by 1 is just 128. All right, last question here. It says 2/5 W equals 40. So again, same idea. Equal sign, draw the line. Next, what operation do we see? Well, we see it's multiplication. It says 2 over 5W. So I can divide using KCF, right? Or if I want, which I do want because I prefer it, multiply by the reciprocal. Either way, it will get rid of your fraction. It's going to give you 1 and W. Again, just to rehash, to repeat it again, you can use the KCF method. If you do 2 over 5, let me just write it out. And if you're trying to divide 2 over 5, it's going to be so you keep 2 over 5. You change the division into multiplication, and you flip the 2 over 5 into 5 over 2. But as you see, what we're really doing is just multiplying by the reciprocal, as we did on number 7, on number 4, and then of course on number 3. So again, I'm just going to undo all of that and just head straight into multiplying by the reciprocal, and just to save us some time. So it says 2 over 5W equals 40. So again, if I want to get rid of this fraction, 2/5, I can simply multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm just going to take the 2 over 5, flip it upside down, so the 5 is on top and 2 is on bottom, so 5 over 2. Whatever I do on one side, I must do to the other. Got to do the same thing, 5 over 2. Remember, this 40 is a whole number. Let's make it a fraction. Put it over 1. So now on the left side, again, I don't have to multiply 5 times 2, which is 10. And then 2 times 5, which is also 10. And then do 10 divided by 10, which is 1. Again, to save all of that, not trouble, but that time, just divide across. So 5 divided by itself is still 1 and 1. And 2 divided by itself is also 1 and 1. Again, I don't have to bring down the 1, but bring down your W, your variable. Multiply your numerators. 40 times 5 is 200 over. Now multiply denominators. 1 times 2 is 2. And last step, just simplify this fraction. 200 divided by 2 is 100. So answer, W equals 100. And that's it. So thanks for watching. If you didn't understand something, make sure you send me an email, ask a question, pause, rewatch the video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.